Hello and welcome to episode 1 of a brand new podcast, Property and Beyond, in association with Tiger Sales and Lettings. Coming up on today's episode, as the world becomes ever more digital, what will the industry look like just a few years from now? And talking of technology, what does the world of AI mean in a estate agency? And has property got talent or hasn't it? Is the industry facing a real recruitment problem? How do we fix that in the property industry? It's a pleasure to welcome two fantastic guests this week. We've got one of my own colleagues, Chris Houston, who is the sales director at Tiger Sales and Lettings. And we've also got the journalist, broadcaster and host of the UK Property News podcast, Ian Collins. Welcome to you both. Thank you for joining me on my first ever episode of Property and Beyond.
Pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Craig.
Let's get cracking. The future of estate agency. What does it look like? What's happening with estate agency today? What are your thoughts, Chris?
So estate agency is changing. The industry is evolving, shall we say. I kind of think when I look back 12 years, when I came into the industry, there are many things that we do now that we just couldn't do back then, which is fantastic. I think with that as well, the consumer demand and the expectation has become even greater. So clients expect a higher level of service now. And the fact that we live in an age which is information driven and these clients have information at the fingertips, which they didn't do 10, 12 years ago, has also placed a lot more emphasis on agents. Clients are looking for people they can trust, and agents who act with speed, and also show transparency as well.
Great. What do you think, Ian? Because you obviously aren't an estate agent, but you work within the property industry from kind of a broadcaster and media point of view. What's your thoughts on estate agency?
Well, you know the adage that police officers say that they're not just a police force, they're almost like a social service now because they have to deal with so much outside of their normal brief. And when I talk to estate agents, and I talk to lots of them, I kind of say the brief goes well beyond, because you put a property up for rent and 500 people want the room or the house or whatever it happens to be. So, you're dealing with almost an entire different atmosphere, it seems to me. And you guys know more about this. But, when the phone calls are coming in and the emails are coming in on a, almost minute by minute basis, have you got me an answer? Have I got this property? I'm willing to offer a bit more, etc. It's a whole... feels like, in the last, half dozen years or so, everything has accelerated to a whole different vibe.
Yeah, big time different vibe. And I also think from my point of view that estate agency is so misunderstood because to the general public, people just feel that estate agents take some pictures of houses and go on viewings. But as you've touched on there, it's a bigger community. There's much more going on. You become a counsellor in more situations than you care to imagine, and try and hold things together as well. And the issue with estate agency is there's so much technology available now that estate agency and the profession and the industry as a whole, it needs to kind of embrace that, because there's some really shocking figures out where estate agents have really got left behind. Some of the latest news that's come out is that estate agencies on the third of 22 watch sectors that are facing financial kind of crisis as an industry, which is not good news. And it kind of shows that estate agencies got to do something in the future to remain relevant and also survive rather than being swallowed up by big corporate giants. It's pretty scary out there for most estate agents.
With the estate agents, I think sometimes it's a case of they're quite capable of evolving, but it's just whether they can make that mental shift I think an agent, if you're stuck in an agent's mind of 10 years ago, where you can just simply put it on Rightmove and almost rely on the fact that the phone will ring, I think they are the ones that are going to get left behind, and they are the ones that unfortunately will probably falter. I think if you can evolve, I think if you can make that mental shift, which they're quite capable of doing, and embracing the technology which Craig has mentioned, then I think they should be okay going forward.
And Craig, can I just ask you in that sense, or both of you, I suppose, are more and more people doing it themselves and just bypassing everything? And because you don't really get small ads in the papers anymore. In fact, you don't get papers much these days. But you look in the back and someone was flogging a lawnmower, or an old canoe or something found in the garage. You're getting people that will actually put house for sale and sell it literally directly. Does that? Not that you're encouraging that, by the way. Does that happen?
I would say on that, I would say that I still think there's that need for people. And I have seen that where people will stick a sign in the window for sale, and it never really ends successfully. Because there's also a lot of work that needs to be done once the sale's agreed, in terms of due diligence checks, AML checks, all that kind of thing. And Craig knows this full well with the fall through rate, or the industry average fall through rate, which is hovering 33%. So I still think there's a need for people. I think clients now do more research than ever, which wasn't the case 10, 12 years ago. So in terms of, years ago, they would just see the local boards in the street, they would make a phone call and get you out, where now with a few clicks of a button, they can use the internet, they can look at Google reviews, they can look at Trustpilot, they can look at the Facebook profiles of these businesses to see how active they are and how responsive they are. So it's almost like that they can do all this information. And if you do get the call out, then they've almost decided they trust you before they call you out, because they've already done the research. A lot of them with Get Agent leads as well. Get Agent will provide information to clients on best performing agents within the area, which works well for us. So again, clients do a lot more fact finding now prior to inviting you out.
Do you think, therefore, we might just be digitizing an old system?
Well, I mean, I always say don't overcomplicate it, but you've got to roll with the times, and these technologies which we talk about and we'll talk about, it is tools, so they're there to enhance effectively the estate agents, so refine systems, make things easier, refine processes, but at the same time improve the end outcome for the client, which is why the client should have higher expectations, which was not the case 10, 12 years ago when I came into it. So that's my kind of thought on it.
Yeah, I guess, again, from the sort of layman's perspective, the thought of selling a house without an agent is
daunting.
Kind of horrifying, right? I mean, the thought, if I saw in somebody's window a sign that said for sale, I would assume it was the window that was for sale, not the flipping house. I mean, you don't see that stuff. So there's probably, as you said, there's good reason for that, Craig.
Yeah, there's good reason. I had a client, he's a good client of mine now. He was trying to sell his own properties. His daughter was very active on social media, and she's done a fantastic job as well with social media. And she was fantastic at agreeing sales. She could agree sales like no tomorrow, but all these sales kept on falling through. So this client came to me and went, Craig, I don't know what the problem is. We're doing something, we're agreeing all these sales, but we can't get anything through. And I went, it's all right agreeing sales, but there's nothing sold until the money's in your bank. And he went, well, how do I get from sale agreed to money in the bank? And I went, you've done the easy bit. The difficult bit is moving that sale to completion. And we have a full department at Tiger that just deal with picking up that sale once an offer's been received and agreed, and moving that and liaising with mortgage advisors, solicitors, buyers, vendors, other estate agents to move that into a completion. And people don't see that. And that is really what you're paying an estate agent for. Yeah, the presentation and marketing is key, but you're actually paying for that specialist advice that moves you from agreeing a sale into being sold. And I think one of the big issues is estate agency is massively misunderstood. And I think there's a lot of technology out there as well and support mechanisms for the profession and the industry. But there's a lot of agents, as shown with kind of 19% of agents are expected to go out of business this year, that don't know how to use those new tools to help them. And we're a little bit scared of it. And I think we as a profession can do more to support agents and guide them, but might be struggling with the technology side of it. I think that's crucial.
Is that not the mental shift side though, Craig? Like, I think that some agents that are not moving with the times, they're heavily relying on the brand getting them through the door. So they think because they're established or they've been in the market for some time and they hold the sign above the door, that will be enough to effectively win them business. So is it more that mental shift that they need to embrace?
100%. 100% is that mental shift because they are good agents. There's no denying the good agents and the credible agents, but they're too stuck in the ways.
Yeah.
And it is that mind shift, and sometimes it's scary. Change can be scary. Change can be daunting, and I think it's a job for the governing body, which is Property Mark. For Property Mark to support and guide those member agents as well to kind of embrace the technology and see the benefits that it can hold. As you both know, I'm running to be president of Property Mark as well in the NAEA division. And that's one of my big things. I want to engage with members to kind of what are their challenges? What are their successes? What can we do to support them and guide them, and how can I raise that at governance level so that the people at the top of Property Mark can decide, can kind of have the whole kind of spectrum and see, actually, maybe we need to offer some support or guidance here and really support the members. I think you're quite right, Chris. It's a mind shift change, but it's not, let's hammer that kind of down the throats of people. It's let's support them, let's guide them, let's show them, because what we don't want is, good agents going out of business. So we've spoke there. How many times future of estate agency as technology just come up in that short burst of conversation? So I think we'll park that because it's going to be something that comes up and keeps coming up week after week. Let's move on to the big talking topic, AI. Everyone knows about AI. What is AI's impact going to be on the property profession and the property industry? Is it going to help agents? Is it going to hinder agents? Is it going to help buyers? Is it going to hinder buyers? Is it going to provide too much information to people? What are your thoughts on AI and the industry?
Brilliant question, Craig. And to be honest, you and me have spoke about this before in the past. So AI is a tool. It's something which should be embraced by estate agents in the industry. I think it's there to aid. In terms of estate agency, it's there to aid us with the processes, systems. It simplifies things, makes things quicker. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to replace people. When you're dealing with something which is the biggest asset a client will ever have, that need for people is still there. And from the consumer side, we've already mentioned the information is readily available. And this is with regards to Rightmove sold prices. They've got information at the fingertips. They can look at square footages on EPCs and all that kind of thing. It can only aid their decision making as well.
And I guess, again, from a sort of an outsider, but AI embraces all sort of industries. And the thing we have to keep reminding ourselves, you look at, people mess around with a bit of chat GPT, they test it, they, if they want to measure their garden because they want to see what they can do with it, get it redesigned, just doing this stuff in seconds. And you start to talk to industries that are beginning to use it, and property being a huge one. What is fascinating about all of this is literally this is week one of AI. So it's kind of, it's only just started. So God knows what it's going to look like in even a year's time, let alone 2 years' time. But I would imagine there's the obvious stuff. I mean, you guys can tell me the obvious implementation with databases and speed, and you're able to. Estate agents have their own systems in different companies, obviously, as to there's a file on people who are looking for this and people who are looking for that, and somebody said, "Oh, come back to me when you." All of that stuff clearly speeds up very quickly, and I suppose there's potentially a job impact on that. I don't know. Maybe there will be an obvious issue around how many people you need to work in an office in the future. And I guess there's also that task that all estate agents absolutely love, and that's going around taking a photograph of someone's sink. That stuff, I guess, changes a little bit because
forgot
AI
the video as well, Ian, with the running water on the tap.
Yes, indeed, yeah. If you haven't got the running water, just to prove, look, it is the 21st century, this house has running water. But I guess, obviously, AI in the cosmetic sense, in a more simpler sense, more obvious sense, becomes a very big selling tool in terms of what you can showcase.
I agree. I think AI is a tool to help. As a business owner, I look at it and go, can it help me save money on labour costs? But it can and it can't, because funnily enough, me and Chris had a conversation on this today when I dropped by his office. And we're both on the same opinion. What AI can do is it can do that initial bit. It can be the initial touch point. But actually, you need someone specialist behind that AI to actually deal with an offer. I don't think we'll ever get to I don't think we will ever get. I'm sure we might get there. But I don't think you would want an AI agent dealing with an offer on a property on phone. I think that needs a human element. That needs a human touch. But if AI can filter through inquiries, deal with inquiries, maybe even go as far as booking appointments in diaries to save time for your specialist team, that's something that can help. And I've seen a really good product, and an inquiry would come through out of business hours, and it sends a WhatsApp straight away, and it talks to a client, and it goes, this information, it's got all the information of a property, but it only goes so far. And I've actually turned around to the guy that's produced this AI and went, it needs to integrate with calendars. That's where it needs to go next. But he hasn't got that technology. So like you said, it's week one, day one of AI. But what it can do is phenomenal in places. We looked at softwares for our property management side, and there's an AI that literally scans your bank account every day, and it starts putting your rent against accounts so that you don't need that human anymore to go, that's £500 for that property. The AI is doing that, and that's a massive time saver, especially for the girl that's doing that role at the moment, and she wouldn't ever be replaced, but it just saves her time so she can do something more specialist. So it creates just additional time for everyone.
I agree. I agree with that, Craig. I think additional time, additional opportunities, and there's a few points there. So in terms of, like you say, the onboarding process with AI, that can help with lead generation. It can help potentially with applicant qualification, maybe even potentially getting documents in terms of mortgaging principles in the future and things like that. So I think it will help refine. But again, going back to what you said, when it comes to negotiating an offer, people will always want to deal with people in that respect. They will trust people more to negotiate the best possible offer, let's say, for their property sale. With regards to the staffing, I mean, it's a tough question, that, and I suppose it does simplify things. So there isn't a need for as greater numbers of staff. But I think businesses, and Craig will be able to answer this one, I think businesses would, if you've got a member of the team who's productive, who's working hard, who's had loyalty to the company, a business would never get rid of anyone like that, regardless of what AI can produce and save time on. But like probably many businesses in the country right now, I'm sure there's probably staff which are underperforming, which are not pulling the weight, which are not making the businesses money. And should AI lead to these people going to maybe to pursue something which they actually find passion in, maybe that can't be a bad thing.
So we're talking there, Chris, about AI not replacing people. And I think we're all in agreement it can't completely replace people. So has property got talent? How do we recruit the next generation of people into the industry? Because let's be honest, estate agency's not got the best reputation. Undeservedly so, in my opinion. I think it's down to misunderstanding. But there's a generation that we need to recruit into a estate agency. How do we do that? Or is it just something that the youth of today are not workers and don't want to be involved in anything that might remotely look like hard work?
I don't personally think that's the case. I think there's plenty of talent out there. I think especially property. Property is quite an attractive job opportunity, and you and me have spoke to many people that say, I don't know what it is, there's just something about property. There is that draw there, and I think that will always be there. I think it's quite a professional industry and people like that. That's the pull. In terms of obviously compliance has become tighter over the last number of years. Regulation is becoming tighter and should be becoming tighter. So I think that will draw a better quality of applicant into the industry. And then I think from there, in terms of the training that agent will provide, I think that's probably a good thing. I think the training that the company provides should be substantial, should be thorough, and they should be guided, and understand that it takes time as well. A lot of youngsters now don't seem to like that. They seem to want to run before they can walk. But I would just maybe set the expectations clear from the start, guide them through the process, and I still think there's plenty of talent out there.
I just wonder, Craig, I mean, you said, reputation of estate agents. Try being a journalist if you want to have a battle.
It's all right. I think journalists are still higher than us on the trusted spectrum.
I'm not absolutely sure. And as you rightly said, it's all unqualified and it's all pretty unfair stuff. And I do wonder, just to go back to your previous subject about technology in the digital world, I wonder if estate agency will become more attractive for the next generation, where it looks like there's something a bit more colourful going on.
Yeah, that's where I feel that estate agency will become more attractive to people, because and I think young people in estate agency that know how social media works, because we've all grown up with it, could be a real benefit to a lot of businesses as well. I think what estate agency has to actually do, I think it's got to become a more credible business. And that for me is through professionalism in the industry, getting qualifications, and making it be that kind of standout career prospect for young people. So they look at it and go, do you know what? I can do all this technology. I can speak to loads of people. I can have different kind of days every day. I can still do all my TikTok and social media content. And I've got a really credible qualification behind me, and I'm helping people move from A to B, and buy or sell one of their biggest assets they're ever going to buy or sell. I see that as a really attractive thing for people to get involved with. I've always loved being involved in property, from being a Sunday assistant and picking up inquiries when I was a 15-year-old or let's say 16. I'm sure I was 15. So, I've always enjoyed being in property, and I think when people are involved in property, they do enjoy it themselves. So that's where I think we've got to be really trying to pull on the talent of the youth today, and make sure that we're training real property professionals and not just salespeople. I think that's the key, and I think through the qualification route and just professionalising the industry, there's no reason why that can't happen. If you look at how realtors are viewed in the States, completely different to how estate agents are viewed in the UK. And that's not entirely fair, because, as I say, there's a misunderstanding of the role estate agents actually have, in my opinion.
I think how diverse the industry is as well is quite an appeal to some people, especially younger people. The fact that there is so many different areas of the business that they could operate in, and the fact they could operate within, let's say the sales side, for example, sales and lettings negotiator. They could do that for a few years and then progress further down the line to valuations or running offices, obviously property management side of the business, maintenance side of the business, the kind of opportunities within the industry, within the estate agency, they're endless. So there's plenty of things there to keep them interested.
Do you know what, Chris? You're absolutely bang on there. It's having a career path. It's having the career pathway. It's being able to choose your profession. Me and one of our other colleagues, Vic, we interviewed an apprentice on Tuesday. And we asked her, what does she want to do? And she said, well, I like the idea of property, but I want to maybe do this. And we went, well, we would take you on and then you can decide your pathway. We can either send you down a property management route. We can send you down an accounting route. We can send you down a maintenance route. We can send you down the sales and lettings route. So it's got a real wide variety of things involved in property, which is a good thing.
You've made it sound amazing. Can you sign me up, Craig?
You can submit your CV, Ian.
I'm learning a lot here.
I think we've had a great conversation there on 3 pretty decent topics. So we are nearly finished, but just before we end, and we're going to do this on every episode, it's the turning point. I'm going to ask my guests, what is there in the life that has changed the way they think about things? So Chris, over to you. What's a moment in your life that's genuinely changed how you think about things? It can be either profession, career, or just personal.
So many things, but I will stick with profession. So I'm gonna go on that basis. And I think this might be unbeknown to Craig as well. So to be honest with you, I spent a couple of years with a Fylde Coast agent down here, Farrell Hayworth. Had a good couple of years down there, and then I moved over to Tiger just over 10 years ago. And to be honest with you, at that point, that was kind of like the breath of fresh air, should I say. At that point, Craig kind of made me realise that towards the end of my career at Farrell Hayworth, it was very intense. It was full on, phone calls at 7 a.m, phone calls at 7 p.m, in Lancaster every single Monday till 9 p.m. And Craig was a breath of fresh air when he came in, and he kind of put a completely different spin on it in terms of the work-life family balance, I suppose, that a lot of people strive for in life. And although I was 10 years younger, so I was 31 years old at that point, it was a little turning point to know that, well, actually, it's not about doing well in one area and failing in the others. It's kind of having that balance across the board. So unbeknown to you, Craig, thank you for that. You did make me realise that.
No, thank you. Thank you.
And just another thing, I'm going to flip that on its head then, Craig. So if I was to ask you the question, maybe give us a moment that maybe changed your outlook on life, what would that be?
Yeah. Well, I think we've worked together 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've gone through some pretty challenging moments in the business. And 10 years ago, I was a much more fiery person. There's been stories about, I would put Gordon Ramsay to shame, put it that way, with sort of my temper when things didn't go my way. I think the thing that changed the way I look at things, or the turning point for me, was I decided not to get emotional over everything that went wrong, every client that was problematic, or every business that we might have lost or not won, or every staff issue. I decided to look at it different. And it was someone I spoke to, turned around and said, you will spend 80% of your time dealing with 20% of people or 20% of issues. And I went, what? He went, trust me, look at it. 20% of your team will cause you issues. The other 80% will be fine. 20% of your clients will be problematic. The other 80% will be fine. 20% of your business will always do your head in. 80% of it will be fine. Stop looking at the 20%. Take a step back, have a breather, be calmer. And that is what was my turning point. Was I just decided, take a breath, take a step back. I know that now I'm much calmer as a person to be around and in business. And I would say that's helped me be more productive, more efficient, and hopefully a better leader as well.
Can I just say, I know I'm here as the outsider, but I'm almost in tears listening to both of you here. Very emotional stuff, guys.
If you have enjoyed this podcast or are just interested in hearing about more sob stories from me and maybe Chris in the future, please subscribe. You can follow us on YouTube, Tiger Sales and Lettings. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok. We're everywhere. Please make sure you do subscribe. You can also get in touch with us if you are wanting any property advice or want to talk property. We are on 01253 627 111, or you can go to our website, www.tigerestates.co.uk. That's it for this week, but hopefully we'll see you again next week.